Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who is designing his next Sports Geek sneakers, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. I'm Sean Callanan, and welcome to episode 402 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode of Sports Geek, I pull back the curtain on artificial intelligence and automation that we use here at Sports Geek. My name is Sean Callanan. I'm the founder of Sports Geek. If you didn't know, before Sports Geek, I was a regular geek. I was a coder and developer, ran development teams, and had an IT and development career for 15 years. On this episode, no guest, and I'm trying a new format. This will also be on YouTube. You can watch it on the Sports Geek YouTube. I'm going to walk through some of the work that we've been doing with AI, with no-code tools, with automation, how it's improving our processes, and how you could use it in your business, with your team, with your league. I'm going to show you how I've been dragged back into the land of coding. Not that I'm coding that much, using no-code tools and a little bit of help to build Sports Geek Reads, our new link creation system, and also how we've built the Sports Geek Daily Rundown, our new daily news podcast. That they're all been leveraging a bunch of different tools, which I'm going to go through here. You can find everything around Sports Geek at our website, sportsgeekhq.com. Here it is. You can see it now if you're watching on YouTube. You can always reach me, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com is how you can get me via email, or on socials. I'm at Sean Callanan on most platforms, LinkedIn, Insta, X, and now even Blue Sky. But let's get stuck in. First thing I wanted to do is sort of describe the problem, why we started doing it, and then how we went about doing it. And I'll even dive in a little bit on some of the process we use, some of the tools. I'm not going to go through line by line and code by code because I know that doesn't work in a podcast format. But if you're listening to this and not watching the video, you should be able to follow along, at least understand some of the different tools and techniques that we've been using. So first of all, the problem, which is not really a problem, but really almost a motto and a driver for Sports Geek, is I've always got to yearn to learn, whether it be new tools and new tech. I'm always driven. And what we do at Sports Geek is in finding the best tech for sports to use, back to our motto, in connecting fans and sports using technology. That's how I started Sports Geek. That's why I started it. My last job was running an elite testing team at DevTest, and we were really good at testing the product that the coders were developing. Part of me wishes that I'd worked in a testing team earlier in my coding career. I would have become a better coder, but it did give me the skills to understand technology and also understand where issues might raise. So that's why a lot of startups want to get their products in my hands, because I'm really good at finding issues and bugs, which is good when you're building a product, but also I can still talk to the geeks and to the business to understand what the product's trying to do, enhance it. So that's what I've been doing the last 15 years at Sports Geek, looking at tools, figuring how they work, how they best work in sport. And so I've always got this curiosity on what the new tools are, what the new tech is, whether it be in the early days of Sports Geek, social media, to now what we're seeing with this wave that AI is providing us. So how can we use AI? How can we use the tools that are available? How can we use the new models that are available to better enhance what we do in the world of sport, which is deliver to our fans? So that's my first thing, that I just like diving in, getting my hands dirty and figuring out how things work. The second was some of our systems that we've been using were failing due to the current systems. So Sports Geek News is an email that we have been sending out. I think we've sent out over 450 editions of Sports Geek News, where we send out once a week telling you what the latest podcast is, and also it was a curated list of sports business articles that normally it would be that I've been reading during the week. And the system that we were using, that we built, our own system that we built to decide what goes in the newsletter, had fallen over or was failing, and probably more accurately, just completely failed and was completely dead. Previously, I would be getting articles from a trusted cohort of friends that were using a sports biz hashtag that I've met over the years. There would be great conversations on Twitter, opinions shared, people clicking on articles. So I would curate the Sports Geek News by looking at the data. What posts had the most engagement, what posts generated the most clicks. And so it didn't take too long to assess, hey, here's the 10 or 15 articles that we're going to put in the EDM. However, as behavior changed, as platforms pivoted a little bit, since Elon took over Twitter, renamed to X, there's been less sharing, and even not just from a sports business point of view, but also from a sports point of view and from an overall media traffic point of view, X and Twitter isn't driving much traffic. People aren't clicking on the links. They're staying on the platform. There's a lot of issues, but one of them is that there is little or no engagement and click. So one, I had less articles to read because people weren't sharing them as much. And then secondly, if I did share things, people weren't clicking, so I had no data to assess what was good and what wasn't good. So that was my problem. I wanted to have my own curation system to stay on top of everything that's in the world of sports business, sports digital, marketing, technology, what's happening in venues. Like that's what I like to do to stay across everything in the sports industry. So I decided to investigate some of the tools that were available in the no-code space and enable you to build something up quite quickly, and then using AI to also best assess that. So my starting point for that was looking at Make.com. So this is Make.com. This is our back end. If you're watching the video, Make.com allows you to set up scenarios and sort of workflows that can check in with multiple tools and run, operations on your behalf effectively. And so that's where I started. And then I also using Make, but then I also use Airtable. Airtable is a database backend effectively. So you can think of it like Excel if you're in a simpler form, or SQL if you're a more technical minded person that understands databases. But Airtable provided me with a way to do a database. So I guess the first problem was, hey, how do I find more links? And so that started by, I'm reading, I have got a lot of emails that are sharing. And so there was a real shift in where links were shared and where knowledge was shared. And we're sort of in this boom of email newsletters. Like, a lot of email newsletters out there. There's specific platforms that do it, Substack, Beehive. And so there's now a lot of the links that I was getting on social are now in email. So what I wanted to do was to build a workflow that reviewed links that were shared via email. So this workflow here, review emails for links, effectively reads the emails out of a specific folder in my we use Google Workspace, so it checks a folder in my Gmail. It pulls out a prompt and then asks ChatGPT to read the email and come back with links that are worth sharing. And so in that's where we put a bit of the Sports Geek secret sauce to say, hey, this type of link, we rate it this way. And so we've got a little bit of a rating system. And out of that, it reads the email and summarizes it effectively and gives us 3 or 4 links from that email. We save those links into Airtable, and they're scored and saved. So they're now in a database of saving those. And you can sort of see there in the flow, it also saves and gives updates in our Slack, so we can quickly check our Slack, and they're effectively then saved. So this is happening overnight. I think this runs, there you can see, it runs 5 o'clock in the morning. So 5 o'clock in the morning, it goes and churns through a bunch of different folders for Sports Geek News type of content that I've saved. I'm actually using another tool, Sanebox. Sanebox, if you've got Google Drive, Google Workspace or Gmail, Sanebox is amazing. It was using AI way earlier, but it has dynamic tags, and effectively you say, hey, I always want to see this email, and I make sure you see it. So this is one of the smart folders that I've got. So now after that, I can wake up in the morning and this links database is now chock full of a whole bunch of articles that potentially I should read and have been rated and scored. Then the other thing that I wanted to do was, hey, I still find articles that I like myself outside the realm of emails that people send me. So to do that, I wanted them in this same system. And so I've been using a tool called Raindrop, Raindrop.io for a while. It's effectively a bookmarking tool. I guess it replaces what would have been the old Delicious, if you remember Delicious back in the day. Trunkly, shout out to Tim Bull who built Trunkly and that was eventually bought by Delicious. I find it as, always looking for a tool where can I save stuff that I might want to get back later. So I use Raindrop for that. And so when I save a link on Raindrop and I put a certain tag on it, it also triggers this scenario, which goes through, rates that link, and then saves it in our database as well. So now I've got links from my emails that I've subscribed to across sports and technology and business and AI. And then the next thing was I wanted to start looking at what would a daily links email look like. So rather than me reading 15, 20, 30 different emails, if I've curated the emails right and I've got my secret sauce right and I've got my steps right in the instructions that I've given ChatGPT, I should be able to get a comprehensive email that says, hey, here's all the things. So this was effectively phase one of what we were trying to do. And I think this is a really good step in, hey, how do I get into AI? And I did have the end game in mind of I want to have a daily pod using AI and using my AI voice. That was the end goal. But I knew I had to take these steps to see if the different phases would work. So to finish phase one, it was this generating a daily links email. And so if you look at this daily links email, and I'll sort of step through it, it pulls out all the links for the day. So it goes to the Airtable and pulls out the links. So it could be 50, 60, 70 links. And so it pulls those in, puts them into a format that ChatGPT can look at. And so then I run a different prompt for ChatGPT to say, hey, this is the kind of links that I want in this daily email. I want a variety of different links. I don't want all technology links. I don't want all AI links. I don't want all professional sports links. I want a nice mix because that's the link. That's the mix that I want. And so that's what the prompt asks for. It says, here's 60 links. Please assess them. I want your best 5. Give us reasons why. And so it creates that list and that email. We then run it through another prompt that says, oh, please make this in an email format. So it takes what was a pretty text-heavy markdown format to go, oh, I need to make it pretty for email. And so now then that runs it through that prompt, parses that list, and then creates a HTML version of it. And so that email gets sent to me and my team every morning. It gets saved. And then the last thing was, well, we've built it. We're checking that email. 95% is correct. Occasionally it gets a link wrong. Occasionally it picks some weird links. But for the most part, it's like 80 to 90% correct. And so we went to the next step of let's create a daily blog post that says, hey, here's the news that you should be looking at. And so that creates a WordPress page. And this is where you check that you're on the right page. And that creates what we call Sports Geek Reads Daily. And so it ends up creating a daily post that gets that we come in, and I normally check this in about 5 or 6 minutes. And I check that the links work, that the articles are okay, that I want them included. And that was the sort of the end of phase one to say, hey, we can build a daily link. And then effectively the last bit was, hey, create a blog post to create this, to say, hey, this is working. So we ran this for about 6 or 7 days, seeing that it was working, fixing some of the issues on broken links or prompts not being quite right. So some of it was prompt tuning in getting the prompts right, and other bits were formatting issues and those kind of things. So working through some of those little bugs. And so then the next thing was, how can I, now I've got this database of links available, how can I build an interface to show what those links look like? And so that was the genesis of what you see here, Reads, the Sports Geek Reads database, which is reads.sportsgeekhq.com. This was all built by myself, pair programming with Claude AI. So I already had the database in the back end. of all of these links in Airtable. They'd been scored. We'd assessed them. We'd put appropriate tags on them. And so we're starting getting a really rich data set of really cool links that you can check out. And it's live, like I said, at reads.sportsgeekhq.com. And so what I wanted to do was to figure out how to build a front-end interface. Now, I had not written any code other than maybe inserting a HTML button on a page and tweaking some things in WordPress for 15 years. So I definitely haven't done any web development in 15 years. So I pretty much went to Claude. I sort of looked at the different options. So Claude, which is from Anthropic, for the most part seems to be a bit better at iterative and pair programming, iterative programming and giving it the code and saying, hey, what the changes are. You can also do it in ChatGPT, but I do like the interface that Claude gives you because it shows you the code and gives you the code snippets along the way. And so I've actually got the original request. And so I literally said, I would like some help in building a Reddit-like voting webpage similar to this screenshot. So I had a screenshot of Ben's Bytes that is very similar. It's a Reddit-like interface that gives a whole bunch of news and articles in the world of startups and AI. I've sourced the links. They're already in Airtable, and I gave a screenshot, and that's all I gave Claude. And so then Claude started saying, oh, it looks like you would like to build this type of web interface. What would you like to do? And so then the next thing I did is said, oh, well, I want to build this in Replit. And Replit is a web deployment platform that it also has its own AI assistance in it, but allows you to quickly build lightweight web applications and deploy them right in the interface, all in the web. You don't have to be downloading things and getting separate servers and those kind of stuff. It's all in there. So in the process of building Sports Geek Reads, it was an iterative process. It was, hey, let's get what does the first version look like? And so the first version was, can we just connect to Airtable and make the articles show? Yes, we can. Can we then also put in some tags in there? Yes, we can. Can we make those tags clickable so it becomes sortable? So if I click on NHL, it only shows NHL articles. Can I have different sorting means of trending and latest, adding the voting mechanism? If you log in, you can vote up articles. So that process was very iterative. The interface for Replit, again, looks really complex, lots of code. I didn't write any of this code. For the most part, I was picking up the code from Claude and copying it in and running and seeing if it ran and seeing what it looked like and reporting back errors to see what it looked like. So you don't need to be super technical, but it does help. Some of the things that I learned in, I guess, programming with Claude and Replit in combination is to be really specific with your asks. Hey, this is what I want to build. And if you don't understand, it's a great place you have to ask questions. So in the first time when I was setting it up, I don't understand this. I haven't coded in 15 years. Please dumb it down for me. Screenshots help a lot. If you're getting a bug or an error or a problem, screenshot what it is and send it. Say, here's the problem, or here's the bit snippet of code. Have I done it right? And also asking for explainers. So also along the way, hey, if it's saying, hey, make this change to the code, get Claude to tell you why it's doing it. Also, it's not always right. There was a few times where I found issues and fixed them. But then I was, like pair programming, I told Claude, hey, you got this wrong. This is what we did. And it would sort of kindly say, oh, that's right. Correct. Thanks for correcting me. So you learn a lot through debugging. You don't need to be technical and you can follow along, but it definitely does help. I do think if you're looking to, I guess, get into this space of, building things in a lightweight manner, it probably does make sense to have someone that has some technical nous, like myself to help you. So that was the next thing to say, hey, how can we build an interface that we'd never done before, deploy it as a subdomain on the Sports Geek website. And that was, a bit of it was definitely an achievement because I haven't built anything like that for a long while. And so then the next step, and again, it has been a process of refining and looking at what changes we can make with this website, whether it be adding the panels on the side to promote the podcasts, the pagination so you can sort through. So this site has every article that I've assessed in the last week. So if you want to know all the articles that we're assessing and looking at and rating, they all end up here, and there's about a week. So I think there's about 400 or 500 links in there that have been curated from multiple sources: email, personal curation, RSS feeds that have also been pulled in. So it's done a really good job to fix the problem that I had was, hey, I don't know what the articles are. And then the rating system we've put on has helped with the deciding what we should be putting into our weekly Sports Geek news. So then the next step was, and this was always the end goal, was, hey, we're getting all of these links in daily. What does a daily podcast look like? And so again, sort of we went back to what the daily blog would look like. So here's the daily blog of all the articles. And then the next step was, what automations could we build that would build the script that we would require to run the podcast. So this is the next step. So our only manual process is reviewing this blog post. So this blog post is the daily Sports Geek Reads blog post, and it has articles from Sport Industry, Sports Business Journal, Edison Research, Sport Pro, Front Office Sports, Rolling Stone, New York Times. So all of those sources have come in. We go through, make sure it's all correct, and then we tag which ones we want to be part of the daily, the rapid rundown. And so this make scenario comes along and it assesses the Daily Reads blog for the rapid rundown. So it uses RSS. It uses the RSS feed to pull the blog post down. Again, we then have a ChatGPT assess that blog post and say, hey, which of the articles that got starred to be included in the script? So that was our way to signify which ones. We're not far away from getting our previous step to assign those stars. At the moment, that's a manual process. I'm most likely going to have that selecting the stars, selecting which ones make the rapid rundown. That will most likely be selected by AI in a very near future. So ChatGPT pulls out the 3 or 4 articles that we've selected for the rapid rundown. And then what we do is go and read that, we use a tool to go and read that article, summarize that article, get out the key points of it, a key quote potentially, to help us write the script. So it goes and pulls out that data. And then the next step along the way is to build Sports Geek Rapid Rundown from that call. So we make another call to keep these separate, makes it easier for us to stop and restart rather than having this in one really big, long make workflow scenario, if you will. And so then, and you can see, and again, if you're watching this on YouTube, we've got 4 different variations that run. For a while there, we were running 4 different variations of Rapid Rundown. And at the moment, they're just still sitting there. And that was for us to test how different prompts, whether they be using Claude or Anthropic or ChatGPT, what was the style of the script. So depending on what the prompt was and how you assess the prompt, it would come up with a different script, and then obviously the daily podcast would be different. So for a while there, we were running 4 in conjunction to see what the different podcasts came out like. We end up landing on Anthropic and the prompt that we've got there in saying, hey, this is what we want for the intro, and this is how we want you to promote the episode, promote each article. So it generates a script. That script gets saved so we can review it, and then that script gets passed to 11 Labs. So with 11 Labs, I uploaded, I think it was a couple of hours of my voice. Obviously, with 400 episodes, I've got a lot of episodes of my voice. Then professionally cloned my voice. I had to do some advanced capture, so I had to read some sentences that it asked live, so I'm not stealing someone's voice. And then now I've got that voice sitting in 11 Labs, I can give it a script to create what is the rapid rundown. Fun story, Rapid Rundown was actually named by ChatGPT when we had a really loose prompt. We said, hey, this is a daily podcast, and it decided to call it the Sports Geek Rapid Rundown, and it stuck, so we've kept it. So 11 Labs creates that file. We save that file in Google Drive. We send it to our Slack so we can have a quick listen to it if we want, before we do the final step, which is picking up that file from Google Drive. And we use Auphonic as our podcast tool to help with publishing. So we can send it to Auphonic, and Auphonic sends it on to our podcast provider, Libsyn. And so that's the last step. The last step is going and creating. And if you, again, the last step at the moment, it ends up in Auphonic, where we can do our final review, we can do our final listen, we can do our final checks of everything. We're pretty close to turning that final check off and just letting it publish as soon as it goes through. So overall, it's probably taken 2 or 3 weeks in letting multiple episodes be generated, finding out which, tuning the prompts. I think there's still some tuning to be done on the prompts, but yeah, it's been very, very exciting. And so now, if you want, you can go to sportsgeekhq.com/rapid rundown. If you look up Sports Geek Rapid Rundown, it should be available on most podcast platforms. We're running Rapid Rundown 3 times a week on the Sports Geek feed for a short while. It has its own feed 5 days a week. We will potentially move that to 7 days a week. It has been interesting watching our content, the amount of links come in on the weekend. That's why it's a 5 days a week at the moment, because we don't get as much content on a weekend, so it doesn't make sense to have it. So it'll probably just stay as a weekday thing. But it's been really exciting. I've really enjoyed getting back into the coding, but like I said, I'm really doing no code. It's more of these workflows in Make and some database work behind the scenes in Airtable, and then doing some stuff in Replit. I've built a couple of different tools now in Replit. It's been really fun. So why now? Why go back into the world of building and coding? Like I said earlier, I like getting involved with new tech. I think AI offers some really good advantages to digital content teams, and also wrapping, I guess, use of the tools in something like Make, in some workflows, actually can open up the use of the tools to your wider team without having to go and buy everyone in your team a ChatGPT license and a Claude license and whatever other, and a Gemini license and a Copilot license. So what you can do here is have some system and team level access and build specific flows and specific requests and specific prompts that access something. So there's definitely a saving there, but also some security and some options in that space. So my team, both with using this and a few others, they've got access to these prompts without having to have to learn the prompt engineering and those kind of things. So there's that piece that, hey, what does that infrastructure look like for teams? But then the other part is, how can we build tools and solutions for sports using this infrastructure? So the way that I look at it, our Sports Geek Reads, our site link curation system, that can be tweaked and built for any topic. So at the moment, for us, it's built on sports biz and sports technology, and that's what it looks for. That's what it curates. That's what it builds. But the infrastructure that it's built on, that can be built for any topic. Like, that system works for any topic. So if you're a lightweight team and you don't have enough content producers and you want to create a daily rundown of key news for your league and your team, we can overlay this type of system for you. And where I think this is valuable, like I said, I'm getting this one daily email that it's an internal email that's giving me all the details I want. I think one segment that is probably underserved but very noisy in the world of sports is the older fan. They like email, they open emails, they want personalised service, and they're unlikely to explore all the social media efforts that you're doing on different channels. So what would it look like if you said, hey, what if we give you a daily recap of all the news? Here's the news from the club. Here's the news from our team from a league point of view. Here's all the mentions of our team in the media. Oh, by the way, here's the best of our social media in one email daily or twice a week. But you could be sending that daily. That would be 250 plus emails to a highly engaged audience that, like what we're doing, would require someone to edit and review 15 minutes a day until the system's running smooth. Once this system's running smooth, it might be even less than 15 minutes a day, or hopefully 0 minutes a day. And so that's the opportunity that I see in, hey, we could build a completely new content strand that services a really noisy, maybe upset fan segment that can be commercialized very quickly. Like sponsors would love to be engaged with engaged audience every day. So it opens up sponsorship opportunities and ad inventory. I think the opportunities with 11 Labs are amazing. Imagine sending personalized audio messages to fans in the voice of one of your star players. Yes, clone voices would need approvals, but I think that's the next phase of name, image, and likeness. Then if it's not one of your players, it can still be, your on-air talent. And so there's those kind of things. There's other ways that we're using automation and AI. We've built some little Slack help bots. So anyone in our team can just put a command into a Slack channel and it will run a make scenario and return the output. One of the ones I really like is helping Dylan, who runs the NFL AUNZ account. Each week, he always does a whole bunch of game day previews over the weekend in the lead up to the NFL Sunday, which is Monday here. And always would take him a little bit of time to hype up each matchup and tell everyone why they should watch and why they should get up early in the morning in our case. So we've built an automation that reads a YouTube game preview that's been done by NFL Network and writes 5 different headlines for that game, using the hashtags, referencing the time that it's on. And so now, rather than trying to brainstorm and figure out what he's trying to write in that tweet, he's got 5 or 6 options for every single game. And so that was, and again, these are micro savings. That was a 45-minute to an hour task once a week. Is down to 15 minutes because that just gets run, and that's a really good starting point. And so there come some of the things that you can build in this space. We've also we've rebuilt our podcast booking process, our podcast research, our podcast booking, how we build the show notes, what's the suggested content that we should create off an interview. That's all using this same sort of infrastructure, Make, Airtable, asking Claude and ChatGPT to assist with research and content production. It's really supercharged what Jess, my content producer, can produce for every episode. So again, how can you use AI and automation to improve your sponsorship outreach and research? You're gonna make a call out to someone. What do they do? What's their business like? What are their key issues? These are all things that can be built and automated and armed for your staff. So I think it's a really exciting time to be in sports, but to be in this AI space with what AI is doing. I've had ideas on what to do, and those ideas just keep getting bigger and bigger because of what's available. So how do you get started? Well, the first thing is one, I'd love to have a chat. I'm really excited about what the opportunities are. You can book in for a call with me, sportsgeekhq.com/AI. Let's have a chat about how we can help you. We pretty much assess it in the same way that we do in assessing products in the Sports Geek Amplify series, where I'd ask them the triple threat questions. Time, how can we save you time? How can we save or make you money? And what resources are involved? So from a time point of view, that's one of the easy, that's a bit of the low-hanging fruit. Like hey, what are the things your team doing? How can we automate the often? If there's things your team is doing often that can be programmed into a scenario like Make, how do we get that time back? And it might be as simple as, I get these reports every week via my email and I have to pick them up and put them in this folder. That just can get automated and never happens again. To more laborious ones, like I was saying before, the tweets that get done every week, or transcribing a whole press conference and how that gets processed, those kind of things. So you want to look at what are those things your team are doing often that can be automated. And then the second thing is how we can save or make money. I think you're saving money if you're getting that time back. I'm looking at it from a make money point of view, really, with that digital to dollars focus. How can you create more content without more resources? So things like a new daily EDM that goes out to a specific segment of your database, opening up new sponsorship and ad opportunity. How can you get that automated to a point where it doesn't take a lot of people to do? So I think this is where it is really unlocking what you can do. A lot of the times when I'm doing workshops with teams, I'm really good at, hey, here's an idea, here's things you can do, which is great, but we will always be constrained by resources. We don't have the time, we don't have the people to be able to execute that. I think what this does is it unlocks those pieces. And so how do we find those pieces that you say, we can say, this is going to get built, here it is, it's a low cost in as far as execution point of view, but a high value for your sponsorship team. And then from a resourcing point of view, I think there's two phases in tackling AI. I think one is manning the process and reviewing and checking in that low touch piece. So the workflows, the systems get built, and someone is just there to check and review and sign off and approve. So they're the person in the middle that is saying approved, and then it gets pushed out. And so they're not really in the weeds of building everything and being a prompt engineer or coding. They're really just maintaining what's there, but making sure that it's working, that it's correct, that doesn't have errors, and is going out. And then I think part two is, what does an internal automation team look like? So from my point of view, I think it makes sense to get some of these pick some projects that you would like to do, to set these up, to see them working with your data, with your systems, with your teams. And then in the same way that we did of, here's phase one, here's phase two, here's phase three, it's now working as you would expect. So again, I'm hoping that this podcast makes sense, and I hope the video has much. I'm more than happy to dive in, and I'd love your feedback and dive in on, showing you those specific scenarios in Make and what I was doing. And I think there's a whole podcast or a whole workshop on just prompt engineering and, how you would use Claude, how you'd use ChatGPT, when to use either one, what one works better than the other. We're still learning, but the best way for us to learn is by doing. And so if you're not doing or playing this space, I highly suggest at least play in this space. But yeah, more than happy to be helping and guiding you. Like I say, I always love working with podcast listeners. And so if that's you and you want to really explore how you can use AI, how your team can use AI, how your league can use AI, please get in touch. Sean at Sports Geek HQ is how you can get me. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Do you get Sports Geek news? Sean Callanan analyzes the latest sports business articles for you weekly. Sign up at sportsgeekhq.com. Want to help drive more revenue from your digital efforts? Book a time for a call. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call.